Hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Chats with Yvonne. This episode is a continuation again of the series that I have going on here, where I talk to some of my high school peers and we talk all about project-based learning and how that really helped us develop our public speaking skills. Today's guest is my best friend. And yes, best friend, we do keep in contact. We talk all the time. We have a group message, Jerica Miles. So round of applause for Jerica. Woohoo! Hey, Jerica, how are you?
Hey, I'm good.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being on here. The first thing that I like to do is do an introduction of people. And I always say you can introduce yourself in the way that you would like. It can be career, it can be just life in whatever way you'd like. Let's go ahead and introduce yourself.
Okay, well, hi everyone. My name is Jerica, and I'm currently a working professional who hopes to get her master's in education at grad school soon. I'm not sure where yet, but I'm gonna get there. I really love to travel. I really love to do my makeup, and I love horror movies also. A lot of people don't know that about me, but the more gore, the better. So
And she does incredible makeup. She is way too humble about that, but she does really awesome makeup. We'll all show up and we're like, hey, it's casual, right? Yeah, it's casual. I show up with like one single, eye color. She comes in with like the purples and the golds and all this stuff. So she likes to be real humble, but she's really good at that.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, she keeps begging me to do a YouTube channel.
Please, I'm like, just do it. It'd be so awesome. And Jerica, a lot of people also don't know this, but Jerica's real funny. Like she keeps our group chat alive for sure. But
Oh my
anyways,
God.
so look out for her YouTube channel sometime in the future. But so today we're going to talk about project-based learning, and I've talked to Helen and Michaela, and now I'm talking to Jerica. Sorry if you can hear my dogs in the background, but um, today we're really going to focus in on those aspects of public speaking, because I really do think that our high school education really just prepped us for the real world. And so
Yeah.
I want to talk to Jerica about that. And my first question is, Jerica, in your own words, what were exhibitions like, and what is a benchmark portfolio?
Well, I feel like exhibitions, like the middle school that I went to was like really small. Like we didn't really have any money, so we didn't do things like science fairs or anything. So when I got to high school and we were doing exhibitions, that's what it felt like. It felt like I was like at a science fair, but like not just science. It was like humanities, science. Like I'm showing off math. I'm showing off everything that I've done that year for school. And benchmarks, those were like, that's what I imagine like getting my dissertation is, except like
No,
more
actually.
more life deciding. I mean, my dissertation would be more life deciding. Like if you're getting your doctorate, that's what it feels like. Cause I'm like, oh my God, okay, I need to make sure that these people know that I understood everything that was going on in class. And this is how I can communicate it like in the real world and not just in the classroom.
Yeah, and for those of us, just to give us a refresher, exhibitions, what Jerica's talking about there is we would literally have a room dedicated, had tables that we would create
Yeah.
posters for it. Our family members, people in the community, our teachers would come by and ask us questions about the things we were learning. But
Mhm.
it wasn't just like Jerica mentioned science. Our school made us connect everything that we were doing in all of the classes. So if you were learning about acute angles or geometry or something in math class, in
Yeah.
history you'd be learning about revolutions, like, oh, was this a 180, what happened after this war, things like that.
Yeah.
It was wild to actually connect those things together, because you always think about, we like to put labels on everything, right? And so you think about these things as being really separate, when in reality everything is
Yeah.
connected, you know.
Oh yeah. Metro was making you connect the dots for sure.
Exactly. And benchmark portfolio defenses, as I think I've mentioned before, essentially you did them your sophomore year and senior year.
Yeah.
And it was basically a way for you to go on to the next thing. So if you didn't pass that, you didn't go on
You
to the
weren't
next
going to the
grade.
next grade.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
tough.
And there
Um,
was so much pressure because like we were such like good students. We were like, we're trying to pass with distinction and Like, and I remember I just passed and I was like, oh, that's not good enough.
Now, I remember thinking after I was done, because I did it, I think a couple weeks before.
Yeah, you did your senior one early.
Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm cool with just passing. That's when, that phrase, C's get degrees.
Yeah.
I mean, it wasn't letter graded, but it was kind of like, you know what? I'm cool with not passing with distinction. And distinction was kind of like honors. But
Yeah.
and Jerica, having gone through benchmark portfolios and the exhibitions and all that, what would you say you were like at the very beginning of it? When you first were introduced with it, what were your feelings about it versus the end of your senior year? What kinds of things shifted, if at all, in your thinking there?
I never doubted like my actual work, like the work that we had to present and like the presentation we had to put together. Like I never doubted any of that. That I was like, oh, it's on lock. Like I'm gonna have everything together. It's like, yeah, everything planned. We good, we good. My thing was like, I gotta present it. Oh, I gotta actually like say this stuff to them, and it's gonna decide whether or not I like move on to the next grade. Like I was so nervous, but like I got up there and I remembered like all the things that I did before. It was mostly just like the pressure of having to do this to move on to the next grade that I was like, it wasn't just like, oh yeah, you're just gonna speak in front of these people and that's it. Like, but yeah, I just remembered all the techniques they took. They like told us like, oh, like don't really read from your cue cards, but don't really have memorization. Like if you know the stuff, then you can like make it flow, like things like that, like eye contact.
Yeah.
So that was my thing.
And it was good. We were exposed to it at a lot, I guess a lot earlier than a lot of people mostly are, because I don't think other schools
Yeah.
were doing this at the time. And so that in and of itself was already an advantage into our transition to college and then eventually the real world. So having gone through them, what important lessons came from that exposure to public speaking, whether it was like the tactical stuff or the more kind of metacognition?
Well, I would say like not being afraid to be like wrong sometimes or to like mess up, because like so for my benchmark sophomore year I actually said some words wrong. Like they played the video back of our
The teaching
our
channel?
yeah, they
Mhm.
played the video back of our presentations, and I said analyst instead of analysis. And I was like, you guys passed me? Like, I was so shook. I didn't even remember even saying the word like that. And they still passed me anyways. And I was like, oh my God. So like when I went to college and like I knew people who didn't want to like even say stuff in like lectures or even smaller like group sessions, people didn't want to like have conversations or like say answers that they knew, like because they weren't used to speaking in front of people, even just in like class. Like, but when I got there, I was in like 300 people lecture, like, doesn't that mean this, and that? Like,
Yeah,
but I
and
wasn't afraid to possibly be like wrong if like I wasn't interpreting something correctly.
yeah, I so appreciate that you bring that up, because that's such a good point to make about the act of just engaging in public speaking. You
Yeah.
can say something wrong and it's like, oh, well, I said it wrong. But what really mattered at the end of the day was that you actually knew what you were presenting, right? You can
Hmm.
say analysis or whatever when you actually meant something else.
Yeah.
And but that doesn't take away from the knowledge that you actually acquired through doing it. And the act of public speaking and practicing how to speak in public builds your confidence a little bit, right? Because you're
Yes.
right. I still had those moments where I was in classes. I was like, I'm just gonna shut up. I'm not gonna raise my hand. But there were
Yeah.
definitely other moments where I felt comfortable enough to be able to make a mistake and not feel like I was going to be necessarily judged for that. But
Yes.
and it varies. You won't always feel like that. You'll be in environments where it's like, yeah, I'm just not gonna say anything right now. But
Yeah. That's also a big thing is like at our school they made us comfortable to like do these things where like at some places the environment is so hostile, like, and you're just like, oh, I don't want to put myself out there in this type of place, like,
Yeah,
So
yeah, and so it's hard, right? Like, we
mhm.
can talk about how public speaking can and does build up your confidence and opens up opportunities, but unfortunately, there's going to be spaces where those things just can't show up because you're just not in a place where you feel comfortable to do that, right? And so
Yes,
then it becomes, what kinds of things can we do to make ourselves and other people feel comfortable if
yes,
we're able to, right? Because
yeah,
again, sometimes you just can't, unfortunately.
yeah,
And so my next question has to do a little bit with that, is just the real world. Like, once we, now we're
yeah.
adults and stuff, we're not in high
Oh
school
God,
anymore,
yeah.
unfortunately. Um, so how have you seen that preparation in public speaking serve you now as a professional, as in your career, or even in just the relationships and communication, as far as communication goes?
Well, I've been working in customer service ever since I graduated. Not like McDonald's or anything, but usually I work with like a lot of clientele wherever my job is, and having to communicate in people of such like high status, like board members and people who like are donating a lot of money or things like that. People get like nervous because they think that they're like some magical person who's not the same as everybody else. But I feel like public speaking has allowed me to see people more as like my peers and like feel more comfortable like speaking to them, like, that we have the same knowledge, and like I can have that same confidence that whatever I'm saying to them is going to be communicated properly.
Yeah,
So
so you're no longer kind of not in the know, you're a little bit more, you're there.
yeah,
You can't be intimidated easily by titles.
yeah.
No, yeah. By the way, even if you work at McDonald's, you are using these things
No,
constantly, and it's
yeah,
a practice that you just can build off of that, right? Like, I always say that public speaking is one of the most transferable skill sets.
yes.
Literally anybody, an engineer, a
Oof.
teacher, obviously a teacher, right? They speak all the
Yeah.
time, but literally any job that you do, you are that much better at it when you can hone into your public speaking skills.
Yeah, that's what I hear about like good doctor versus a bad doctor, people skills. And like I was talking to this with my boyfriend the other day because he's in computer science, and like we were talking about people in STEM and sometimes how like people skills and communication sometimes lacks. So I'm really glad with how the route I went in college, which combined both STEM and like humanities and social sciences, and it helped me continue to keep my communication skills and even like further my presentation skills and
Yeah.
presenting and things like that.
And did you mention what your major was in?
Oh my God. I didn't, because usually people are so confused about it. But I studied evolutionary anthropology at
Huh?
UC
Just kidding.
Davis. Yeah, I graduated in 2017. So it's been a minute since I graduated. But
The other day, I was like, I got a notification on Snapchat 4 years ago, and it was like me taking my grad pics at Cal, and I was like,
yeah.
what? I was like, oh hell no, that's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, for the people that are confused, who knows? Maybe they would want to explore that. What does that mean? Like, what does your major entail, or what did it entail?
So in the short, basically what I mainly studied was the social science of anthropology. It's like the study, but people really hate this, but it's like the study of man. But also it depends on what sector of anthropology you're trying to go into. I was on the evolutionary track, so a lot of my classes either involved like the study of evolution or even archaeology, which is basically a study of human trash, damn near. So, um, yeah. And also, like, sometimes I would have to take other STEM classes like bio or chem and things like that. But I took a lot of cultural anthropology classes too, because that's also a part of the track that I was on to understand like the actual people living today in order to understand certain things in the past. Um, so, yeah.
Cool. I mean, I know that I know nothing about that, but it sounds interesting. Like Jerica has always been the like dictionary of the group. She just
No, don't
knows
say
things.
that.
She just knows things, and we're like, huh? And she's like, yeah, you didn't know that?
Oh my
Like,
God,
no.
no, no, no. Oh my God.
Or she'll be like, you know what? Just Google it. Yeah. But yeah, so I guess, Jerica, to end our conversation on our experiences in high school and public speaking, what, any final thoughts that you want or that you think people should walk away with regarding public speaking, whether it's for people that aren't necessarily as in tune with it, don't necessarily practice it as much, or someone that's, just on the journey to mastering the art of public speaking, what would you say to them?
Honestly, I would say find a style that works for you, because like not everyone speaks publicly the same, like, or even presents the same. Find techniques that really help you communicate, and also like don't be afraid to necessarily say something like incorrect, or um, you know, don't be afraid to also like further explain certain things, because like sometimes people say things super generally and they're like afraid that they don't know specifically what they're talking about. So yeah, just don't be try not to be afraid. Pretty
I, re-
much.
I really like that because, there is foundational knowledge that you
Hmm.
acquire through the art of public speaking, right? Which is like eye contact, body language, those kinds of
Yeah.
things. But there is this room to explore, right? There isn't
Mhm.
just this one way of doing it.
Yeah.
For example, sometimes I'm like, I want to be funny. So I add a little bit of humor to it.
Yeah,
Sometimes
that's
it's a little
me.
like, you know what? I want to be real serious today. So I'm just going to stick to the facts, so
Yeah,
figure out what your
exactly.
style is and then adopt that to anything that you do. And it will just sound a little bit more authentic, right?
No, yeah, for me, yes, definitely jokes and visuals, like
Yeah. Yeah.
jokes and visuals
I know.
put
Yeah. Yeah.
together a nice looking presentation.
Mhm. Exactly. Exactly. So thank you, Jerica, for joining Chats with Yvonne. And if anybody has any questions about how to make your presentations funny, Jerica is the one to do that. So
Oh my God.
yeah, but thank you, Jerica, for being on Chats with Yvonne.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Cool.
I've been watching you do your thing, so thank you.
Thanks. All right. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.